Hello and welcome to Doon Does DVD, and this is Disney Classics number 50, Tangled. This is the last one in the big chunk of modern Disney which I haven't actually seen before, but that still means I don't know particularly much about this one. I know it's based on the story of Rapunzel, but my knowledge of the story of Rapunzel doesn't actually seem to be particularly massive. I know there's a young woman with particularly long hair who is imprisoned in a tower and gets rescued by a knight who climbs up said hair, but beyond that, I don't actually know any of the context. Like, why is she even trapped in this tower in the first place? Why does the knight care? Well, I guess knights care about people who are trapped. That's kind of a knightly thing. Who else is involved in this story? Presumably someone trapped her in that tower on purpose. No idea who that someone was. The only other character on the poster seems to be a horse, so that's probably not the main antagonist. So I'm obviously missing quite a lot of the details here, because, you know, woman with long hair stuck in a tower doesn't seem to be quite enough story to fit into an hour and 40 minutes. Maybe the original was sort of more of a short story with not much to it, and this version has been particularly expanded, but no idea. I know we're in the revival era, so I'm expecting this one to be, you know, of a reasonable quality, so hopefully this one should be pretty enjoyable. Let's watch and find out. Well, that one turned out to be super fun. Much like Princess and the Frog last week, this seemed like very much sort of Disney by the numbers. Even more so because it's one that's in an actual fairy tale setting. So, you know, we've got magic kingdoms, we've got kings and queens, we've got evil witches, we've got princesses being kidnapped and rescued, and it's got all the things. There's animal companions, the princess has a cleaning montage, and everybody is singing. It's just pure Disney. That is, of course, with the exception of the animation style. But even though we're back to fully CG 3D stuff, that doesn't actually feel that out of place anymore. Sure, some of the characters look a bit plasticky sometimes because of, you know, the lack of detail in the skin, but that's not something you would get in hand-drawn animation either. And so that style still feels consistent overall, and what they do manage to do is make these characters super expressive. Particularly the character of Rapunzel. I love some of the facial expressions she manages to make, and also how much personality they manage to give Maximus the horse. Does it look photoreal? No, absolutely not, but it doesn't actually need to, because they've taken the sort of 2D hand-drawn animation style and evolved it into computers. I read a comment from one of the directors about how computers at this point had become powerful enough that it was more of a case of, you know, the artists bending the computers to their will rather than having to limit themselves to what the computers were capable of as they had done in the past. And so that allowed them to do a lot more with, you know, things like expression and movement, which they hadn't quite been able to be as advanced with before. Although, of course, that wasn't without any technical hurdles. It apparently took 6 years worth of tweaking code in order to get the hair to render correctly. But to me, at least, it seems like the end result was worth that effort. And so we get a super fun, well-made, well-acted, good-looking, sort of lovely adventure. Musically, bringing back another Disney classic, we've got Alan Menken doing the score again. Although I have to say, well, the music here services the story well. There wasn't really anything that was super catchy. Obviously that can change over time with more viewings and more detailed listening, but filming this the day after having watched it for the very first time, most of it's kind of already gone from my mind. There's definitely a lot of things here that feels like it's kind of a practice run for what will later become Frozen. Although I do have to say that from what I remember of Frozen, while the production might be a higher standard there, I think I actually prefer Rapunzel as a character compared to Elsa. Because, you know, Rapunzel's more getting out into the world, facing her problems, dealing with stuff and getting it done, whereas Elsa's more a bit of a sort of run away from her problems kind of story. But maybe I'll change my mind once we get to Frozen in a couple of weeks. It's been a while since I watched it, so we'll come back to that later. Back to Tangled, I would say this is kind of the first in the good era of Disney CG. Obviously, it's not the first, but at this point it's evolved enough that the artists have they're getting to know how to use it properly. It doesn't stick out as much. It's all just part of the story. They've got good models, they've got good lighting, they've got lovely backgrounds, and it all fits together. And so yeah, overall, I really like that one. What are your thoughts on Tangled? Tell me about those in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again next week with Wreck-It Ralph.